Oh, see, the music is still playing. That's a really nice feature. I don't know why it's still playing.
I think it's because I'm here. I happen to have that effect.
I really don't know why the music is still going. I'm confused.
Anytime I get on stream, something bad happens. This is honestly the best bad thing to happen. There you go.
All right, welcome to the Tony Kinnett cast here, live from Washington, D.C., here with Siraj Hashmi. Good to be with you, of course. All the, whatever you say at the start of a podcast, it's all friendly and fine.
You don't start with a salam alaikum?
As a Baptist, I normally don't dive into that particular move.
Oh, you're more of a shalom aleichem.
Yeah, obviously. That's the grouper opinion, right? That the Baptists are all secretly Jews or whatever. I'm having trouble keeping track.
Your words, not mine.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of quick news to get to today. We're not going to keep you for eternity, although I know that it does in fact excite you to see such incredible people after hours, not at the right time, going over all kinds of nonsense. So first up today, and I'm going to hit you with this. Zelensky is flip-flopping on the minerals deal yet again. What are you thinking?
Wait, but didn't they just sign the deal?
I've heard that they're going to sign the deal, and then they're not going to sign the deal. And then he shows up to the White House, and he's in a tracksuit, and he's doing like the Russian squats. You know what I mean? Like the Adidas tracksuit, like zuka, zuka.
I just find it fascinating that he went to the Pope's funeral and wore the same thing he wore to Oval Office.
I got to be real. At some point, you got to visit a JCPenney. I understand Ukraine's in an existential crisis, but like, man, it's mass production era. Wear a suit to a funeral.
And also, like, existential crisis. He has all this time to go traveling. Is that something that's something you should be doing if your country is?
You can't have it both ways. Like, you can't simultaneously be like, oh yeah, I got to take a break and I got to go to Pope Francis' funeral. Got to chill out with.
It's need a 3-day weekend with the boys.
Yeah, it's like one does. Like one does. So he goes to Francis' funeral, and then they have all of these photos of Trump and Zelensky like talking it out, just having a chill time, like huddled together, sharing middle school secrets. Have you seen the one where like the tile on the floor, they're like all in chatting with each other? Did you hear that the friend they set
like
up?
How we're sitting right now, right?
Yeah, but like more like intimate. We're not going to recreate it. I know you want to.
You got to buy me dinner. You got to buy me dinner first, Tony.
The best part is that they had 3 chairs set up originally.
Oh, that's
sure,
right.
This isn't a start to a joke. This is the truth. They had 3 chairs set up. Now, if you had to think, the United States, Ukraine, and who else? Who do you think the 3rd chair is for? Give me your bets.
I think it's got to be. Got to be Macron, man.
It was for Macron. Yeah. And they apparently Trump said, no, get that out of here. He's not a part of this.
Bro, that is. Did that violate the bro code?
I don't know, but I mean, it's something. It's really funny to see Trump basically Becky at the lunch table.
Damn,
you can't sit with us.
You can't sit with us.
I can't sit with anyone. I have
that's
hemorrhoids.
Rough. Like, I don't know how you go back to your country and be like, yeah, man, iced me out.
So.
He iced me out. I can't do it. French.
He iced me out.
Yeah.
Baguette Eiffel Tower.
I lost the touch by being offline for too long.
Yeah, that was a bit of a struggle there. So on the other side, you've got Scott Bessent coming out. And the man's a national treasure. I mean, you guys got to deal with Howard Lutnick and Peter Navarro, who get on TV and say things. And Howard Lutnick, he steps out and he's like, guys, there's still a Russia-Ukraine deal on the table. We're talking about still a minerals deal on the table. I think that his entire job is just patching up leaks like the plumber and trying to calm everybody down.
For Lutnick?
No, for Bessent. Bessent walks out, and I think his arms are just going to like stick in this. It's okay, relax, kind of like a wing flap, but trying to calm down the scared child.
So like the messaging I've seen coming from this administration, Trump 2.0 versus the first rodeo, a lot more coherent and a lot more, honestly, I think they have done something that very few people have been able to do, and that is stay on message.
They have.
That's something that in the first admin, you know, it's like a very stark comparison between that and what's happening now. I think in that first 100 days for Trump, I mean, he got a lot done. I do sense like we're kind of getting into like things have settled down a little bit. Like you can tell that like the outrageous left is not going as crazy as they used to.
Well, I mean, if so, when you give someone a bit of give, right? When you suggest that they can push you if they just push hard enough, then they're going to push harder.
Right.
If you come up to the table with, well, compromise a little bit. I mean, this time I think Trump picked a team of people who are more than willing to walk in akimbo middle fingers and just go for it. And it works.
It works because they also, I mean, for one, I don't think you have this type of administration if Trump did not just get assassinated.
How have we glossed over? Do you realize that if it had been the other way around and it was Biden or Harris, they would be using the fact that the individual was almost assassinated as carte blanche excuse for every action, every ignored court order, every statement in public. Well, he was almost shot. I mean, it would be pulled like a pistol.
What's so wild, after J13, which I like to refer to it as, I remember, I think it was CNN that published an article focusing on all the attempted assassinations on presidents and former presidents.
Sure. And
they highlighted they literally highlighted the assassination attempt on Obama as someone firing a gun at the White House when he wasn't even in the house. He was
that's the best kind of like a remote, like a long distance assassination.
A long distance assassination, sending the message,
It really is sending a message. And speaking of sending the messages, we got to talk a little bit about the whole 100 days thing. And what I think are worth talking about in 100 days conversations and what are not worth. You know why we talk about the first 100 days of an administration, right? That hasn't been a thing we've done for all the presidents in history. In recent history, when presidents started governing by executive order, then the first 100 days mattered because after 100 days, the courts and Congress starts getting really pissy.
Yeah.
So now you measure everything by the first 100 days because it's an arbitrary number we like, and also everything's governed by, executive order. So when you have the Trump administration roll in and start doing things, everyone expects now, because we've said the word 100 days at the beginning of every administration, that every policy area is measurable in the 100-day window. It's not.
Right.
I mean, I understand some of the criticisms about the economy. Sure, I get it. But, dude, I don't think you're supposed to go in and be able to retrofit the entire world economy in 100 days.
That's impossible. The fact that we even saw this report showing a contraction of the economy in the first quarter, and basically all the left-leaning economic experts basically taking that to their however they're amplifying it, whether it be on Twitter X or on social media or just going on to the legacy media,
right?
And basically highlighting how this administration is completely horrible and it's not good for the American public.
Oh, well, then they immediately take the springboard from the economy's not that great and it's fascism.
And
because that's a natural next step. I mean, hey, man, my paycheck was, I really, gas was more expensive this week. I mean, also I had to hail Hitler on the way home. I mean, come on, one leads to the other.
I got home and there are no Jews in my cellar. I mean,
what happened to them?
It's terrible, man.
You miss 1 week of grocery bills and all of a sudden, the yellow stars everywhere.
Oh,
my
man.
Goodness.
So, what I've seen, though, is with at least that on the economy, tariffs notwithstanding, people are so hyper fixated on the individual stats. They're not focused on they don't see the forest for the trees.
No,
the overall mission is so much more important than all of these individual statistics about like the economy contracting or the unemployment rate going up. Like, no one cares about that stuff.
So this is why I think that when you talk about like comms from an administration, the phrase "let him cook" should in fact be a decent comm strategy. And allow me to explain why. When you're talking about tariffs, if the other world leader, which I don't know if people know this, but like the other countries in the world have access to US media, they can read the Wall Street Journal, they can watch Fox News or CNN, they right in front of them. So if they get out there and say, we have information that Trump says he's going to shut the tariffs off if he doesn't get a better deal by Friday, then why wouldn't the country just outlast us? Am I missing something here? Something really obvious about like what should be a basic strategy. I mean, Navarro comes out and tries to say, oh yeah, forever and ever, amen. We're going to do tariffs all over the place. They're wonderful. Should just come out there and said, dude, let them cook. We're working.
The thing is, like, people don't recognize that, like, all of these other countries have had existing tariffs on the United States.
Yeah.
And it's literally reciprocal tariffs. That is, President Trump is putting on tariffs on countries to the same degree that they're putting tariffs on the United States.
And we can talk about how some of the messaging got kind of screwed up and how apparently it's Donald Trump's fault that Canada elected Mark Carney because, I don't know, look, I get it. Did that probably have an impact? Yes, sure. But do you know what that says about the Canadian people? That the president of the United States can be like, we're going to take your country and we're going to sell it on Amazon. And then all of a sudden they vote for a totally different guy. That doesn't really speak well of the Canadians.
No, the fact that I'm surprised no one has highlighted foreign influence in an election.
Foreign influence in the Canadian.
Where have we heard that before?
I knew it. It's all AIPAC's fault. Okay, a few other pieces of news to talk about today. I want to tell you a bit of a story. Are you ready for some story time?
I love story time.
I went to a press conference this morning. It was hot as all get out, and it ruined my day's schedule, which we all know is the worst thing that can happen. And Brooke Rollins got out there in a really nice light blue suit, kind of like a little three-piece suit. Kind of Steve Urkel, but classy. It was good. And then on the flip side, you had Kristi Noem walked out, and no dogs were harmed on the way to the podium. And they gave a press conference about this small family in South Dakota who was prosecuted by the Biden administration because their five generation, their cattle ranch was up against this plot of land that the National Forestry Service owned. And I guess a couple of their cows ate the grass on the wrong side of the fence. And so what did the Biden administration do? Threatened to send them in prison for like 20 years.
Wow.
And rip them away from their children. Seriously, I wish I was exaggerating. No, the government's like you should.
It's like the Bundy farm all over again.
Wild. So the Trump administration steps in, and then Bondi as AG, and then Kristi Noem, and then of course Brooke Rollins because she has to do with the Forest Service stuff.
Yeah.
Right. They drop the charges, and so they're talking about all of this incredible amount of attention the Trump administration is showing to this one family. And families that have been hurt by bureaucratic overreach. And it smacked me in the face as I was covering this press conference there in the middle, like kind of writing stuff down and listening to the family talk and the officials talk. There is so much from this administration the media is not covering.
Yes.
Because we could be talking about the incredible job that Hegseth has done with recruitment numbers.
Right.
No, we got to talk about Hegseth texted his wife, ladies and gentlemen. He's like, strike the Houthis. And also, hey, babe, watch this. And it's like, And then on the other side, you have the administration also doing incredible work with removing litigation practices and going after families, Muslim, Jewish, Christian. And you have this amazing effort towards fixing bureaucratic wrongs. And all the media is talking about is that, like, Trump printed a third term t-shirt. That's it. Call it in, boys. He's done. The walls are closing in, finally.
Well, remember the first administration, it was all controversy. It was controversial in the sense that everything that he governed by tweet.
Yeah, I did.
And then they investigated him to no end. This is such a remarkable time for him as a president because it's like the first time he's not being.
That's true. There's the first time.
He literally, they are literally letting him cook. The fact that they went harder at Elon Musk over these first 100 days.
That's a good point.
Over Trump shows you that they literally have nothing.
They don't. And again, the best part about the whole Signalgate, and I was talking to people, and we know people in kind of the Bushian Republican part of things who have to, who somehow get their jollies by saying both sides are bad. Yeah. They kind of like the libertarian arguments. Well, I don't like anyone. Okay, well, no one likes you. Yeah. We're still letting you eat here. The idea that, this Hegseth thing is very, very, very bad. I'm like, really? This is it. This is what has you
this
tweeting.
Is your red line.
Yeah, this is it. Oh my gosh. Well, they're using the word red line again. The Dems have brought it back.
Well, what's so funny is that like all of these people who literally would like have their password set at guest 12345. All of a sudden, like cybersecurity experts, like why didn't he use two-factor authentication? Like,
we've got an actual member of the Iranian Republican Guard in the State Department leaking things during the Biden administration. But Hegseth sends some emojis to Jeffrey Goldberg, and it's like, that's it, SCOTUS!
yeah.
Oh my goodness. And I mean, from that point forward, there's so many things that happen in a week. I don't know if I've had less sleep in a span of 100 days
Than this week.
No, I mean, going through newborns, not a problem. This administration, I have burnt the candle at both ends every day. Look at us. We're doing the show late. I'm tired. I'm not all here. And I have to lean on Siraj Hashmi for the show. I mean, dude, I'm exhausted.
You know, it's one of those things where a lot of guys like to lean on me, you know?
I don't think we need to get...
And I'm ready to help them out, you know? I give them a helping hand or two. And, you know, we just tug that thing out together.
So, you know, other than talking about the importance of staying in the game, I think that it's wild to see the Democrats use the red line rhetoric. And the reason I bring up the red line rhetoric again, because that was a big deal. You know, oh, this is the red line. You know, we have to move after this. Is that now we have Judge Dugan, who looks like the most... Guys, we all know stereotypes.
Snack.
Right, yeah.
Snack.
Total babe. If I said 50s pinup model, the little Apple camera gave us the thumbs up. That's not, there's not even anyone doing a thumbs up in the room. Thanks, Apple. Neat. Oh, amazing. You have Judge Dugan, who looks toothless. I mean, she looks like someone who would be arrested for robbing a Denny's. Have you ever, like, on the news?
Bro.
If you saw that in a mugshot and it's like, this lady robbed a Denny's with a turtle. Like, you'd believe that, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially, like, if there was, like, a turtle with, you know, just the turtle shell. And
like
it had wings on it and spikes. And it went for whoever got the...
Oh, because she's Bowser.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Or Wario.
Judge Dugan, I mean, I don't know how you fumble that badly. It's actually pretty astonishing. Like, even Ken Delanian of NBC News Russia hoax fame,
right,
is saying like, "Yo, it's not looking good for her."
No, and you had CNN's chief political analyst get out there and go, "You know what? This is a crime." In fact, the only judge or legal expert or a lawyer that I've actually seen say that she has a pretty decent case is over on Newsmax, Judge like Napolitano, yeah.
Interesting.
He's the only person I've seen that's like, no, she has immunity to do what she wants in her courtroom. And I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think you can stand up and be like, I'm the judge, and then flash the courtroom. These are my chambers.
It's interesting. Judge Napolitano's had sort of like an interesting sort of evolution from being on Fox News and like being sort of pro-Trump to like kind of veering off into lib space. And he's like had like these moments.
Oh, has he?
He's had these moments where he's very super critical of Trump. So it doesn't surprise me that he would say that Napolitano has, that he would say that Judge Dugan has a case here. I don't know if he's doing it to be contrarian and make headlines, because or he's seen it happen before, or he's such behavior. Not that, but again, like times are different when he probably was a judge, because like it's not like he never had these types of ICE raids or even INS raids. Probably when he was a practicing judge, to this extent. Like this is like a full blown crackdown, and this is exactly what Trump promised when running for president.
Okay, there's a so you know Chris Farley, like
yes.
SNL, right?
Oh yeah.
So when he's doing his and I just happen to be wearing the same kind of white shirt. So in a spirit of theater, you know, there's the where he's doing his van down by the river. There's a picture of Barr, Attorney General Barr. And then it has Chris Farley like over his shoulder yelling, and the caption is, "For the love of God, arrest somebody." And I remember that kind of a vibe near the end of the Trump administration, because a lot of us felt like that. Like, these were obvious malpractices. But I think that the Trump administration didn't act on them because they were trying to be more moderate to win in 20. And they had other stuff going on too. Shout out to my boys in Wuhan. Wu-Tang right, we vaccinate all night. So I gotta say, I understand why they're in the first time. To see the administration now coming in, and first of all, Tom Homan, I'm pretty sure he's gonna break someone's neck before the end of the administration. The man gives off bulldog that had a child with a bouncer vibes. I love it. I mean, that man, I don't think I would go up to him in a good mood and say something that made him mad. That man's awesome.
Yeah, Tom Homan might be the most based individual in that administration, because I think about that 60 Minutes interview. Like,
yes, that's exactly what popped into my mind.
And they asked, you wouldn't separate families. They're like, of course we won't.
Support them together.
Support them together. Like, you got to have some major cojones to say that to legacy media. And credit to Homan for actually getting the job done. I love how Trump gets up on stage and said they let 3 people in. 3. How did you let 3 people in? Like, I know Trump is kind of he's a showman of sorts. I don't know if there are actually 3 people that got in, but those are like the 3 lucky.
Dude, that's waking up late for school, finding out there is no school, and then somehow the assignment was to do nothing, and you got an A on it. That's the level of luck there.
Yeah.
That stuff all said, good conversation here with Siraj Hashmi. You can of course follow him over on X. We'll throw that in the description below. You've been a little AWOL for a bit, but it's good to have.
I like keeping my head down right now. It's a fun time to just watch everyone sort of lose their mind.
It's wonderful.
It really is, because people who were, and we have good memories. It's not like we don't remember what happened in the Biden administration, and even how people acted.
Well, of course not. KJP was historic. That means that she has to be in the history books.
Brave. Snack.
Al Capone.
My chocolate
horrible dresser. Tyler Perry's idea of a press secretary.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we know how they acted. We know what they missed. The fact that they're now talking about the Biden decline, having to basically
simp. They're having to walk before the country and go, "We're sorry that we missed something," and it's like, your name's on the
Well, there's literally tape of you saying that he's sharp and he's completely with it.
Have you ever looked at someone who you weren't sure how they were doing, and so then you decided the best route was to brag about their mental ability? It's like there's a person I don't know if they're sick or not, and so you just go to your friend and say, "Yeah, that person will help you move." Why?
Yeah, that person's good for the Boston Marathon.
Well, let him go. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's what a time to be alive, right, Tony?
It is really a time to be alive, and I will feel more alive tomorrow. That is when we're back in Indiana in the home studio. Thanks, of course, to producer Nick and Daniel for putting up with us. Producer Lou as well. We've got Rob Carson over from earlier today's on Newsmax Radio. We're going to kick it over to that interview. It's a really good one. And we're going to get a little bit of rest and come back home tomorrow. Thanks again, Siraj. Of course, thanks for hopping on. Appreciate it, dude.
Of course, brother.
See the nice little on air. Reminds me of the Mulan picture where
Mulan.
Yeah, you remember in the Disney Mulan, we have the Emperor,
yeah,
and then Shifu, the advisor. He has the picture where he's shaking the Emperor's hand. Yeah,
more of a Kung Fu Panda guy.
You would be more of a Kung Fu Panda guy. And with that, my time has come. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll kick you guys over to Rob in a second. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WIBC. Normally things are flipped around here, and that means that it's Rob Carson putting up with me on his show. So today we've decided that it's my turn to suffer. Rob, nationally syndicated phenomenon, thanks for joining us.
Oh, brother, it's great to be on the show. I just want to say I've only had you on my show a few months, but there's just you are my brother from another mother. I mean, we are right on the same page, baby.
Hey, there's something about people who focus on things outside of the Beltway that I think make them better broadcasters. And that's something that the Trump administration has actually done a pretty decent job in the first 100 days of focusing on. I was at a press conference this morning with Brooke Rollins, Kristi Noem. We were talking about this family in South Dakota. Biden's administration, so his family, went after the mods because they had a farm up against a plot of the Forestry Service. Mm-hmm. Did he have to prosecute this family? No, it was disgusting. It was political. Trump has said it right. No coverage on this story. No. That's what his first 100 days is littered with. And I know you've seen the same kind of stuff.
Well, exactly. And, when you look at some of the other nonsense that Barack Obama did, basically telling every landowner in America that any source of water on their property was under government supervision. It's that kind of Marxist nonsense that it's always been. It's about control. Everything's about control. It's about, taking your gas stove away from you. Doesn't make a difference at all in the environment. It's all about control. And the media isn't going to cover this. That is a great thing. See, I traveled the country over the last few years, kind of actually by accident. I went to Florida, drove down there with my family a couple years ago, had to go through all the small towns because of all the traffic diverted, went to little towns like Laverne, Mississippi, went up to my hometown near Persia, Iowa, and Underwood and Neola and Minden and all those, and saw the suffering that is there. And it is greater than it has ever been. You've got main streets where they don't even put out the American flags anymore because nothing is open, not even the bars. Right. So this is the kind of ignorance that exists in Washington, D.C., and Donald Trump has gotten us away from the coastal elites and focused on the people who really make the country work.
And then I try to see some of the coverage of the small towns, some of the national side of things. And what I end up reading are a lot of really poorly written 1,000-word articles by some untalented intern trying to make the case that there are all these farmers, these small-town workers, and they deeply regret their vote for Donald Trump.
Oh, dear God, no.
Republican leadership already. No. Who are these people?
Well, they're not from the flyover country. They're not from the heartland. I saw a bit last Sunday. Martha Raddatz. They decided to go outside the Beltway.
Martha.
I know. Go outside the Beltway to see how the tariffs have impacted.
Oh, it's the first time for everything.
You know where they went? Annapolis, Maryland. 20 miles outside the Beltway. And they talked to a guy who has a pet store, and he ordered a bunch of stuff in case the tariffs kicked in. So he hasn't been affected at all by the tariffs.
The man's just got like 47 toucans screeching in the back room.
Actually, apparently he does a big business in dog harnesses. And I'm not thinking it's just for dogs because they're very close to D.C. There's a lot
of Democrat Senate staffers who use that kind of stuff.
Bark collars, that kind of stuff. Yeah, they're just out of touch, bro. They're just out of touch. They don't know Indianapolis. They don't know Kansas City. They don't know Poughkeepsie. They don't know Springfield, Ohio. They don't care about it either.
So I was talking to and kind of a national correspondent over at Town Hall, Rebecca Downs, great editor over there. And we were talking about a lot of the Midwestern towns that exist by name in several states. So Vance is from Middletown, Ohio. I'm from Middletown, Indiana. Gotcha. There are Middletowns all over the country. There are Greenfields, Newcastles, all of that. Yep. And strangely, though, all of these towns that have the same kind of names do, in fact, have a lot of similarities. And even though you could do an Everytown USA kind of example, you never hear that used on national TV like Walter Cronkite used to do.
No.
You never hear some of the age-old broadcasters. Obviously, I know you used to do a lot of writing for Rush, rest his soul. Yes. And he never lost sight of what it meant for regular Americans to be given a perspective from those of us who spend time talking. And I think we're coming back to it finally after all this time.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I couldn't agree more. The coastal elites have been in charge for a very long time. And what we're witnessing, and I started writing for Rush right out of college in 1989. I said, I began to coin an expression soon thereafter of conservative apartheid. That's what we've experienced. And they focused on the coastal elites. They've focused on the liberal population centers and give very little notice to the people in flyover country. It became very obvious in Springfield, Ohio. East Palestine, Ohio, all of that. And I became very aware that they don't give a flying crap about those towns. They don't give a crap about the county seats that exist everywhere with a courthouse right in the middle in the square, Ozark, Missouri, or, wherever that exists. But they do exist all over the country. And finally, they do have a voice. And they're proud Americans, bro. They are so proud. Did you watch that rally last night? They are proud. It is so glorious. We've been told not to be proud. We've told to focus on the guy who kneels rather than 65,000 fans who stand. And for so long, and these people, all of the manufacturing have gone, all of the if the Kawasaki plant went out of business in Maryville, Missouri, the town would be dead. Well, that happened 50,000 times
in
the last 50 years.
You and I have talked about this last time I was on your show. I mentioned that, my dad in Richmond, Indiana, when Dana packed its bags and moved to Mexico, that was something we experienced. No one in the coastal elite has any idea what the company Dana or Perfect Circle or any of those even are. But it's really interesting. You talk about towns and how they're laid out and the people that are in favor of this. Trump goes back to Macomb County in Michigan, just 20 miles north of Detroit. During the election cycle, I drove up in my little Corolla from Indiana to Detroit and watched during the UAW strikes.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And Trump goes and speaks at that transmission plant. And no one could figure out in the media why all of these union laboring Democrats were in favor of the change that Trump was bringing instead of Biden, who was supposedly union boy. And that hasn't slowed down since Trump's been in office. They're still trying to claim union on the left, and they're gone.
Well, the union leaders have been able to be rich despite all of the factories moving.
Great distinction.
The union leaders have gotten, the unions themselves have been enriched by the government, and then they, of course, expect their membership to vote slavishly Democrat. But as you close down these plants, why would any of the members want to vote Democrat?
Right, line workers ain't stupid.
And you know what else? Here's another thing about the coastal elites. They think that menial labor or manual labor or working an assembly line or standing on a roof putting shingles or whatever, they think it's the jobs that Americans won't do because they wouldn't do them. These are the jobs that we love. America loves jobs where they feel like they built something and they come home and they get in the shower and I remember growing up shelling corn all day or pitching bales all day and almost clogging the shower drain with dust off of me. And you know what? There's a satisfaction in that. And the elites don't understand it because they've never done it before.
And they try to satirize. You've seen Parks and Rec, right?
I love the show.
Right. So, you've got Ron. And again, they actually built that entire series around the inverse of Muncie, Indiana, which is right where near I grew up.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So they made this libertarian, this right-leaning character, Ron, and they have him talk. He becomes so beloved that he starts teaching the other characters how to live. And after showing one of them how to fix a sink, he sits back and he goes, yes, the feeling of the pride of labor, of getting something done. Amen. And they pass that off as a joke, but there really is that sense of creating something that is inherent in every American.
There is no job beneath Americans. That's been a myth forever. When George W. Bush said it, jobs that Americans won't do. You jackweed. There is no job Americans won't do. We get dirty every damn day. We shovel crap.
Yeah, there's jobs that maybe you won't do, but the people that I worked with, they get down and they do them right.
I grew up in Neola, Iowa. You know what the prized job growing up in Neola, Iowa was? The prized job, working at the slaughterhouse. The dirtiest, filthy, worst thing you could possibly imagine. Read Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, for God's sake.
I reference that on the show all the time.
That job paid $20 an hour.
Yeah.
That job paid $20 an hour. It's a job that you have to do if you want to enjoy that McDonald's cheeseburger. Thank you very much. And they had no problem doing it.
And there's this enamorment. There was this enamorment that we had very briefly with the millennials growing up, where they were watching the shows like Dirty Jobs or the crab fishing or the oil rig worker kind of reality shows where you would see it up close. And now with Generation Z, it's back again. You're starting to see what is going to be the most conservative generation this country has seen in over a century, who is enamored again with hard work that is done correctly, that isn't a bunch of soy boys running around interning in office buildings. And thank God.
Well, a guy was out of my house the other day, and we wrapped a beam on our ceiling, and I would have done it, but I don't like being on ladders. And I was talking to him about this, and he's a woodworker. He's very good at it, and he's probably 28, 29 years old. And I said, how long have you been doing this? He says, well, I went to school for accounting. And he says, I don't like it. He said, my father was a woodworker, and I get satisfaction from doing this. I mean, dude, he could be making $150,000 doing accounting and maybe $200,000, but he's a woodworker and he is an expert, man. And it is if you can be something good at something like that. And the other thing is you can leave it at work when you leave work. Unlike a lot of the other working in a cubicle and whatnot. But there was a satisfaction. And thankfully, we're watching higher education begin to die. The desire and the need to have a degree that's worthless. Now you're just graduating people who have no skills, who are just pissed off at the world and Marxist with no ability to get a job with $200,000 worth of debt. It finally, there is people are getting to realize I can make $120,000 as an artisan welder. Or I can make $150,000 as a whatever, maybe a master plumbing, maybe a master electrician. You can make $150,000 easy as a master electrician.
And so, there's also, there's actually a bit of adventure to that as well. Yeah. And I think that's also has been missing from the American spirit. There's no adventure really anymore in going to university and then getting out and having your resume rejected by a bunch of angry Karens in HR offices. We've talked about that a ton. Yeah. But to actually go on the adventure of starting out as the apprentice, and being teased by the other guys and then brought along as a fellow craft, and then eventually reaching mastery.
Yes.
That is a facet of American industry. And I'm ready. That's one of the reasons I like Vance so much. He understands the value that brings to a community.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just so, I said when Donald Trump was elected, I said, I didn't believe, and I still don't believe, we will not be able to recognize the profundity of that moment and what is coming and what has come for decades. And we still we can't even recognize it now. If I put down a list of all the things that have been accomplished the first 100 days, if you would have just stopped at the border.
Right.
That would have been enough. That's more than Joe Biden did in 4 years, for God's sake. And look at how momentous.
And that's why when I see Trump going and doing a little bit of a rally, the media says, oh, that's grandstanding and political campaigning. How could he, the grumble, mumble, grumble. Trump goes and celebrates a couple of things that people in the Midwest, that people in the industrial towns are thrilled about him doing. Yeah, I'm not going to complain about that at all. I say that's fair game.
And you know what? Suck it, Dems, because just because you can't do it, just because you have to pay people to show up to see AOC, and Bernie Sanders at a rally in Denver where everybody's paid, where 20-some thousand phones had been at 8 other Kamala rallies, for God's sake. They're rent to mobs, not paid for USAID anymore, but certainly paid for Soros money on that. Right. Donald Trump is a rock star. He shows up 50,000, 80,000. And my God in heaven, how many of those rallies did he have? Over 100 in 2024. And it is something they will never be able to reproduce. The Republican Party will never be able to reproduce. You will never have a phenomenon like this again. Last night was the MMA meets P.T. Barnum meets a Metallica concert. That was a Trump rally. Oh, meets a stand-up comedy gig. Every day is historical. Right now, every day is historical. We need to stay positive and patriotic. And every time the left tries to throw a wrench in the works, make fun of them. Because they cannot win. They will not win.
And that's why you need Rob Carson and Tony Kinnett. That's why you need us to get out there and make fun of these goobers and find the weakest cracks in these goofball stories. You can, throw them at the relatives you have on Facebook who vote the other way.
Well, they have no, I take mockery, ridicule, and satire back from the left. And when you have those in your corner, they cannot fight back. They can't. They can't.
No, not even a little. Rob Carson, Newsmax Radio. Thank you very much for stopping by and joining us, man. Always a blast.
You're the best, buddy. Talk to you soon.
We'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast.
All right, so briefly before we wrap up here, just wanted to talk about a few questions answered. So why do a show like this if it's so haphazard and, kind of disjointed at all? Basically, once today, which was going to be a long day no matter what, got started, this being the official, actual, genuine 100th day, up for an early press conference, and then off to all kinds of other nonsense, because whenever I am in DC for a week, it's chaos. We could have kind of regurgitated some stuff and threw it at you guys and got the show out at 7. We could have not done a show at all, which was floated as an idea. Instead, we decided that perhaps the move would be to just kind of hop on air, go over some of the quick notes and thoughts, just kind of chill, kick back, and relax. Of course, the Rob Carson interview, which talking to Rob Carson anytime is fantastic. He's a wonderful guy. And then just kind of pick up from normal tomorrow. So you may have truly despised this particular episode, and if so, I'm sorry. We're not trying to shake you out of the comfortable normalcy of maybe why you choose to turn into the Tony Kinnett cast or not. Of course, thanks to the live stream crews who hopped in a little bit later. We'll be back tomorrow. Everything will be normal. For the Daily Signal's top news in 10, we're probably going to do a little something on the alternative side as well. Just not sure on that one end either, but we're playing things a little bit by ear. And so, hey, sometimes when you're just trying to make the best of things and kind of get everything out there, these are the kind of ideas that you pop over with. So have a wonderful evening. I hope you guys get a little bit more rest than I'm likely to. And thank you for what's likely just an entire bonus tonus. We'll be back tomorrow with some more stuff back from my favorite place on earth, not in Washington, D.C., but at the home studio in the greatest state in the country, the state of Indiana. I'm Tony Kinnett, and this has been the Daily Signal's Tony Kinnett Cast. Take care.